And for more on the situation in Gaza, we're joined by the Director of Communications with the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, Juliet Touma. Juliet, thank you so much for joining us today, taking the time to share your thoughts with our viewers. I would love to start off by asking you about the situation on the ground right now. What are your staff telling you?
Yeah, well, displacement continues. People continue to be forced to flee their homes for a very simple reason, that the bombardments and the airstrikes continue across the Gaza Strip, where nowhere is safe, not even UN facilities.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. Yesterday, 2 UN schools were hit by Israeli airstrikes. There's no official count on the death toll quite yet, but a recent report earlier this week said that 60 installations of the UN have been hit in the Gaza Strip since October 7th, and 70% of them were in the south of the Gaza Strip, where the Israeli military has said people should go for safety. So how has that affected the operations of the UN?
Look, just to confirm what happened over the past 24 hours and to confirm that UNRWA does not know what caused the hit on these 2 schools and that we are unable to confirm. What we are able to confirm is that these were indeed 2 UNRWA schools. Both of them were in the northern parts, including in Gaza City, and that there were many people who were reported injured and killed during these incidents. And this is becoming commonplace. So, like you said, dozens of our facilities, including those sheltering families who have come to these very same facilities to seek refuge and protection, yes, they have been hit during the war.
Talk to me about the flow of gas into the Gaza Strip. We've seen moderate amounts slowly being let in, but is it enough? And if it's not enough, how is that affecting fuel management and how staff on the ground are managing the amount of fuel they use and what they choose to use it for?
Fuel has been used in the context of what's happening in Gaza simply as a weapon of war, exactly like water has been and exactly like food has been. And for weeks on end, UNRWA has been pleading for an urgent shipment of fuel into the Gaza Strip because we wanted to continue to provide humanitarian assistance to people in need. Only a couple of days ago were we able to get the authorization from the Israeli authorities to bring in a shipment of fuel that will only be able to cater to half of what we need, only half of what we need. And what we're calling for is sufficient shipments of fuel that need to come into the Gaza Strip on a regular basis, unconditional, for the use of UNRWA and other humanitarian organizations across the Gaza Strip. We need fuel if we are to continue to provide assistance. Our shelters are overflowing with people. More than 900,000 people are now taking shelter. The number of people displaced in our shelter is increasing by the minute, by the hour, and this is 6 times more than we had planned for in a worst-case scenario.
Let's talk about what the UN is calling for, which is a ceasefire, humanitarian ceasefire. U.S. President Joe Biden most recently said that a ceasefire wouldn't be possible, wouldn't be productive to the fight against Hamas. What would you say to that when it comes to humanitarian efforts on the ground?
Absolutely critical and fundamental, and in fact overdue, that there is a humanitarian ceasefire in the Gaza Strip for the sake of civilians wherever they are, wherever they are. There's been too much suffering, too much loss. It's been very long 6 weeks with grief, with displacement, with uncertainty, with winter and cold weather now starting, with streets flooding, with sewage, with water shortages, with food shortages. It is absolutely time for a humanitarian ceasefire, absolutely time.
Strong words there. United Nations Relief and Works Agency Representative Juliet Touma, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your thoughts with our viewers.